Hi, I'm Stephen Power, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a good color popped or color separated image using Adobe Lightroom Classic. Now, this is a technique that can often involve quite complex changes using a software like Adobe Photoshop. But if you use my first secret, then it can be done well and very quickly using Adobe Lightroom Classic. And the first secret to this method is that you choose the photograph you're going to use for the color popping very carefully. You need an image that has got one predominant color that is different to most of the other colors in the photograph, and it's isolated from them. It's not overlapping with various colors. So you can see this picture I've got here of my son taking a photograph of a horse guardsman in London, and the guardsman is wearing a bright red coat, and that's the color that we're going to pop in this tutorial. And it is really very quick and simple. To do it, we come down to the right hand column in the Develop module of Lightroom and find the HSL color panel, and we're going to click Saturation. And you can see here that we've got sliders for all the main colors or the main color channels in Lightroom. And we're simply just going to slide each one to the left, basically desaturating that particular channel. And we're left with a monochrome image. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that that monochrome image is edited correctly, it's exposed correctly, and all the tones are as we would want them. There are other videos of mine showing you how to do that, but very quickly here I'm going to go to the histogram. We've got a flat line on the right hand side where the lights are, the white tones, meaning the image is slightly underexposed. So I'm just dragging that to the right, and it's lifted the tones a little bit. This area here is maybe slightly too bright, so I'm going to use the graduated filter, drag it over, and then reduce the highlights in that area, just bringing some tone back in the stone of the archway there. So, okay, so now we're working with what we believe is a well-corrected black and white image, and we want this red cape, this red coat to come back. So back in the HSL color panel, all we do is move the red slider back to the right, and there comes the coat. And we'll just adjust that until we think it's the tone that we want. I'll show you very quickly that taking that off again, if we use the targeted adjustment tool, we can just click on the coat and push up, left click and push up with the mouse until we get the coat back to where we want it. Now that is bringing some orange back on here, so we'll just take the orange off again. Now if we look carefully at this photograph, we can see that there are some areas that are not perfectly black and white, as some of the red and pink tones have come back when we've moved the red slider back up in areas that we don't necessarily want. So we'll zoom in on one of them, which is the guardsman's face. Some of his skin tones have come back, and what I'm going to do here is go into the adjustment brush And I'm going to make sure that the saturation slider is at -100 and paint over as carefully as I can, moving the brush bigger and smaller when I need it, just on his face, just to take off any colour that's left there. If I hold the space bar down, we get the hand cursor, and I can move around now to my son's face and hands and make sure that, again, that with the saturation slider at -100, I'm just painting there with the adjustment brush over any areas of colour that are still left. Just make sure that they've all gone. Now, with his hand, I'm going to have to take the brush a lot smaller, and if we have to, we'll make the size of the image a bit bigger in the navigator. Seem to be working okay with this for now. You'll notice that on the screen of his smartphone there, we've got the red coat still of the guardsman, and I'm going to leave that because it mirrors the actual real life scene, if you like, quite well. So just going to leave the bit of red showing there on the coat and make sure it's off everywhere else. I did notice that there was some orange on the police car here. Make sure that's gone. And there we have it, and that was the second secret. When you've got a bit left, a bit of colour in places that you don't necessarily want, then go into the adjustment brush tool, make sure that the saturation slider is at 0, and paint very carefully in the areas that you want to desaturate. And that's it. Quick and simple, but very effective colour popping, colour separation using Adobe Lightroom Classic. Leave me a comment below or any questions, and I'll see you next time.